Hello, Class 11th student. Today I'm going to start Chapter 7 from your book Statistic for Economics. Topic is frequency diagram. Within that, we are going to learn about histogram, polygon, and ogive. This is part 1, and in this part, this chapter is going to be over because this chapter is only related how we are going to draw histogram, polygon, and ogive. Let us start. Within this chapter, we are going to learn about uh, histogram, polygon, and ogive. So this is the content of this chapter. Okay, and time series graph that you are going to learn in next chapter. Okay, frequency diagram relate to a diagrammatic presentation of frequency distribution. So remember this histogram, polygon, and ogive. It is related to what? It is related to representation of frequency distribution. Frequency distribution means continuous series. Okay. Till now we had learned about presentation of discrete or individual series. If series if data are given in continuous series, that time we can't use a bar diagram. Okay, so that time we are going to make the use of frequency diagram. Okay, like histogram, polygon, ogive are time series graph. Okay, so in such series, value of a variable repeat themselves number of the time. That is, the different value of a variable happen to occur different number of the times. Simply it is given in series like 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 70. Okay, so there is a continuity. So this type of frequency distribution series, yeah, continuous series, it is represented in three way. Okay, first is histogram, second is polygon, and third is ogive. That is the topic of this chapter. Okay, now, so in this chapter what we are going to learn, we are going to learn these three. Okay, histogram, frequency polygon, frequency curve, and ogive. So first of all, histogram, it is a two-dimensional diagram. Remember, it is two-dimensional diagram, yani ki we are going to take in consideration both length and width both of a rectangle for the compare. When we take both for the compare, so this is known as a two-dimensional. Okay, student, in the previous chapter we had learned about the bar diagram. So in bar diagram is a one-dimensional. Why? Because only length, yeah, height of bar is considered for the comparison. Okay, now it is very commonly used to of presentation of data. Okay, it is a graphical presentation of frequency distribution. Already I had explained that histogram, ogive, frequency polygon, and frequency curve, all these four are related to what? Related to representation of continuous series. So that is given. Okay, now it is a set of rectangles with base as interval between class boundary taken along the x-axis. Okay, so on the o-axis we are going to represent value of the we are going to represent the value of x, and frequency we are going to represent on oy axis. Okay, now frequencies we are going to represent on oy axis. Okay, now the length of the histogram indicate frequency, and breadth of the histogram indicates size of class interval, yani ki 10 to 20, 20 to 30. So this is you are going to represent on o axis. Okay, and like its frequency is 4, its frequency is 7, so this you are going to represent on oy axis. Simply if you talk to on oy axis, we are going to represent frequency, and class interval we are going to represent on o axis. Okay, so that is written here. Now, total area covered by the histogram represent the total frequencies. Okay. Now, when we learn about the histogram, so what we come to know, first of all, we are going to represent continuous series. Second thing, it is a two-dimensional, yani ki width as well as length, Both are considered for the compare. Okay, on OY axis we are going to represent frequency, on O axis we are going to represent X. Okay, X variable. Now when we are going to study histogram, it is always studied in the case of when equal class intervals are given and when unequal class intervals are given. So first of all, when equal class intervals are given, class interval is taken on O axis, which breadth of the rectangle is equal to the class size. Frequencies are taken on OY axis. Length and height of the rectangle is equal to the frequency corresponding to the class interval. यानी कि class interval is the differences is going to be the same. Okay. So here is 10. Here is also 10. Difference is here 10. So this is we are going to represent on O axis, and frequency we are going to represent on OY axis. Okay. Now here is given one illustration. Draw a histogram from the following distribution. So in this example you can see that when we calculate class interval, so class interval how we calculate, L2 minus L1, यानी कि upper limit minus lower limit, upper limit minus lower limit. So when we minus 10 minus 0, तो it will be 10, 20 minus 10 it will be 10, 30 minus 20 10, 40 minus 30 10, 50 minus 40 10. So here what we find, class interval is equal. Okay, so now we are going to represent it. So histogram with the equal class interval. Here you can see that on the O axis we are going to represent class interval which are having equal interval 10 10 10 10. Okay, and here we are going to represent the frequency. Okay, so when we compare the diagram, so for the 0 to 10 there is 8 workers, for 10 to 20 there are 16 workers. So from 0 to 10 there is 8, from 10 to 20 16, then 20 to 30 24, 30 to 40 56, and 40 to 50 40. So this is what, this is your histogram in the case when class intervals are equal. Okay, now the second is when unequal class interval are given, यानी तो गैपिंग जो intervals है that is not going to be same. Okay, so here frequency needed to be adjusted because class interval is not having the same interval, there is unequal distribution या unequal class intervals. So first of all we are required to adjust the frequency. So wideness of the rectangle would be different, wideness will be according to the class interval. Okay, अगर हम प्रीवियस वन को कंपेयर करें, इसमें जब क्लास इंटरवल सेम है तो वाइडेंस सभी की इक्वल है, लेकिन यहाँ अनइक्वल है इसीलिए वाइडेंस भी अनइक्वल होगा. ओके, नाउ हाइट ऑफ द rectangle is going to represent adjusted frequency. Remember, here we are not going to represent directly frequency, we have to find out adjusted frequency, and that we are going to represent on OY axis. Okay, how we are going to find out? So for the adjusted frequency, first of all we are going to get adjusted factor. How? So frequency upon adjusted factor is for adjusted frequency, and how we calculate adjusted factor. So this is the equation: size of the concerned class, size of the lowest class interval. With the example it become very easy. Okay, here in this example you can see कि in the first class when we are going to calculate class interval, तो upper limit is 15, lower limit is 10, यानी कि difference will be 5. Okay, next 20 minus 15, so again it will be 5. Now 25 minus 20, again it will be 5. Then 30 minus 25, it will be 5. And here 40 minus 30, so it will be 10. And here 60 minus 40, so it will be 20. So here you can see that till now class interval is 50, but for this one the interval is 10 and for last one is 20. So this is why it is unequal class interval. So first of all we are going to adjust this frequency. So how we are going to do? So first of all we are going to find out adjusted factor, and then we are going to divide frequency with this adjusted factor. Okay, so how? So adjusted factor, what is the equation? Equation is what? Size of the concerned class and size of the lowest class interval. Okay, now so here when we calculate class interval, so this is the class interval for every class size. So lowest class is what? 5 is the lowest number. Now we are going to divide all these class interval with this lowest या least class interval. So 5 upon 5, 5 upon 5, 5 upon 5. Okay, so in this way we get adjusted factor. Now all these frequency is going to be divided with this adjusted factor and we get frequency adjusted. Okay student, and that we are going to represent here, and in this way we get the histogram in the case of unequal class interval. Okay, now next is frequency polygon. What is frequency polygon? So it is very simple. You draw the histogram, mid of each rectangle you are going to join, and in this way you are going to get the frequency polygon. Okay, what is written here? So joining the midpoint of the rectangles we get frequency polygon. It is drawn by joining the midpoints of the top of the rectangle in the histogram through the straight line. Okay, it can also be drawn without histogram. In such a case frequency are plotted against the mid value. So we are going to find out first of all mid value. So where will be mid value? We are going to make a point and we are going to join that. Okay, all frequency we are going to represent on OY axis and all class interval on O axis. Okay, and we have to find out the midpoint, like this is your bar, just mid, again the next bar is this one, so we are going to like that. Okay, okay, so the figure so obtained is extend to the base at both ends joining the extreme point. Okay, these are the jointed by a straight line. Okay, here is given you have to draw both with the histogram, without the histogram. So these frequency are represented on OY axis, marks यानी कि class interval on O axis. Okay, we had drawn all the rectangles. Now we are going to put a point on the mid of all the rectangles and we are going to join by a straight line and we have to extend it. Okay, so in this way we get frequency with the histogram. Now frequency polygon without the histogram. When we are going to draw it without the histogram, so what we have to do, we have to find out mid value. How we can find out mid value? So we have to find out mid value. Okay, and then we are going to plot it. Okay, so how we are going to it? L1 plus L2 upon 2, so 10 upon 2, then 10 plus 20, तो 30 upon 2 यानी कि 15, 30 plus 20 50, 50 upon 2 यानी 25, then 40 plus 50, so 90, 90 upon 2 45. Okay, so we are going to draw it. Okay, so here you can see कि so here we are going to represent mid values, and on the basis of that, this is your 5, this is your 15, this is your 20, this is your 45, this is your 25. We had drawn on that. Okay, and in this way we get frequency polygon without histogram. Now, what is the difference between histogram and frequency polygon? There is just a simple difference ki in histogram we just draw a rectangle, and when we want to make frequency polygon, so what we have to do, we have to just point a mid, okay, and then we have to draw line. We are going to draw all these midpoint, so we get frequency polygon. So a histogram become a frequency polygon if we draw a line joining the midpoint of the tops of the all the rectangle. Okay, now frequency curve. So frequency curve is nothing when you join all these mid value with freehand without using scale, without using foot rule. So this is known as a frequency curve. Okay, so joining the mid points of the rectangle by a smooth freehand curve, we get frequency curve. It is drawn by the joining midpoints of the top of the rectangle in a histogram through the freehand without the using foot rule. Okay, it can be drawn without histogram also, like polygon. Okay, in a such case, mid value of class interval are plotted against, okay, frequencies. After all frequencies are plotted, y-axis, mid value of class interval are axis, all the point are indicating frequency are joined. Okay, so same thing is given also in here in your book. Now here is given one example, frequency curve with histogram, without histogram. Okay, so first of all, here we had drawn the rectangles and we had pointed mid of all the rectangles and then joined with freehand. This is your frequency polygon with histogram. Here we had not drawn the rectangles. Here we are going to plot mid values, okay, and we are going to join it. Now the basic difference between curve and polygon. So very simple. Polygon का मतलब we are going to join all the point with the help of the foot rule, and in the case of frequency curve we are going to join with free hand. So this is the difference. Now next and last topic is ogive, our cumulative frequency curve. Already I had taught about all these series in your 4th chapter, organization of the data. So ogive our cumulative frequency, this is related to less than and more than series. Okay, ogive our cumulative frequency curve is the curve which is constructed by plotting cumulative frequency data on the graph paper. Okay, what is less than? So less than always started with the upper limit. Okay, so beginning from the upper limit of the first class interval and goes on adding the frequency corresponding to every next class. Okay, more than, so it is always started with the lower limit. It is always started with the lower limit. It is always started with the upper limit. Okay, now so what is basic difference between less than and more than? So in less than we are going to start with the upper limit, okay, and in more than we are going to start with the lower limit. Here we are going to add by corresponding, okay, and here we are going to start with the all. So that is why in case of less than tend to increase, ogive is tend to increase, and in more than it is tend to decrease. Now here is given one question. So this is the data. Now you have to draw, you have to represent this data with the ogive. So for presenting with the ogive, first of all you have to convert this simple continuous series into cumulative frequency series. So first of all, less than, to less than always start with the upper limit, and more than always start with lower limit. So less than 10, less than 20, less than 30, less than 40, less than 50. Okay, now number of the person, so 5. Less than 20, how many are getting less than 20? 5 plus 15 plus 5, the 20. Now less than 30, so yani we are going to add all these 3. Less than 40, we are going to add all these 4, and less than 50, all 5. Okay, now come to the next upper limit. yani we are going to talk about the more than is started with the lower limit. So how many who gets more than 0? All of them, yani we are going to add all. Okay, here 50. Now more than 10, except this all of them had get more than 10. So 50 minus 5. Okay, next more than 20, yani we are going to add 25 plus 3 plus 2, otherwise we are going to subtract 15. We are going to subtract 15. Okay, now let's more than 20. Okay, so more than 20, so 25 plus 3 plus 2. Okay, so this will be more than 20, and then more than 30, yani we are going to add more than 30, 3 plus 2, more than 40 plus 2, and more than 50, 0. Okay, now we are going to plot this on the graph paper. So in the less than ogive, we are going to get upward sloping line, and in case of more than, we are going to get downward sloping. And how we are going to convert simple frequency distribution in less than or more than, already I had explained in detail in 4th chapter. If you are not able to understand, so you first of all watch the video of 4th chapter where I had explained type of continuous series. There in detail I had told how you are going to convert. Okay, so first of all, if you are having any difficulty to convert in less than or more than, so first of all you are going to watch the video of 4th chapter, and then you are going to read this one. Okay, thank you for today, student.